Be seated. God bless you. Thank you so much, choir. Wow, that was so refreshing. This atmosphere is pregnant. Let's travel with the word for a while. You know, God is existence himself. One of the challenges I had growing up was trying to contemplate what it looked like when nothing was. I tried to imagine how existence felt like and what existence looked like when there was no space, when there was no time, when there was no matter. I was lost in thoughts. I tried to reason it out until a point came and I discovered a scripture, and it said the ways of God are past finding out. There are realms that our mind cannot contemplate. There are dimensions that even if they were open to us, we don't have the facility to exploit them and to explore them, because they are as deep and as ancient as God himself. But you see, on account of God's benevolence and his desire for creation to participate with him in experience and in intimacy, he decided to open a measure of himself for us to understand and to interact with. And so because God, on account of his benevolence, opened up his realm and opened up his dimensions for us to interact with him, our understanding of God becomes the definition of life. It means the knowledge of God is superior to existence, because he was before existence itself began. And so when Jesus was speaking, you know, Jesus is God made flesh. And so when Jesus speaks, he's speaking into the realm of flesh, but where he's talking from is eternal. And so if you interact with the words of Jesus at face value, you may never know what you are quoting for aeons. You can quote it for ages and for decades. It doesn't mean you know it. But when Jesus was speaking in John 17 verse 3, he said, this is life eternal. It has nothing to do with breath. It has nothing to do with walking, eating, and drinking. He said life is that you may know him, the only true God, and him whom he has sent. That means what validates our existence is not the breath on our nostrils. It's not the cars that we possess. What validates our existence is the measure of the knowledge of God that we have. And so a man who does not know God, even though he's walking, is a dead man. In 1 Timothy chapter 5 verse 6, it says, him that liveth for pleasure. Just in case you came into time and you began to touch things that appeal to your emotions and appetites, and you now feel that you have discovered something, that the beauty of life is to sit on a beach and enjoy the air. Maybe you discover that driving in a black Jeep is quite comfortable and it gives honor. Or you realize that standing on a skyscraper in the evening and taking a bottle of wine, a glass of wine, is so beautiful. And you now discover that you have found something. You say that is death. If you come to the realms of reality, it's a life is the degree to which you know God. This is why for a man who knows God, when he's leaving this body, it's not called death. It's called sleeping with the Lord. This is why for a man who knows God, You can't threaten him. Because he said, don't be afraid of him that can destroy the body and not the soul. Because whatever happens to this body is actually an opportunity for you to experience reality in a superior dimension. Because you have come to understand that life is not existence. Life is intimacy. Life is the experience of God. And so even if we were to be out of your body, his presence with the Lord. And on account of that, for you to live is Christ. And for you to die is gain. Because when you leave this body, you are given opportunity to be closer. That means leaving this body is a journey of proximity to reality. Because the knowledge of God is what validates our existence. But you see, one of the things the princes of darkness wants to do is to darken our understanding. So we can walk through time and never experience God. And if we are not taught from the vistas of reality that all of that economy outside of God is death, we may think we've made the most of life. We may even call it fulfillment until we cross the divide and we come into reality. Then we'll be told that that thing we did was not life. That's the quagmire of the foolish rich man. He thought that life was the enjoyment and the pleasures that he got on this side of the divide. And when he gathered his balm, he said, now my soul will rest. He thought rest is pleasure. And the monarch spoke from heaven. He said, you fool. That means rest outside of God is foolishness. He said, tonight your life will be demanded of you. And when he crossed over to the other side, he now discovered what nobody taught him on earth. And he began to beg to please send Moses and the prophets to the earth to warn his brothers. He thought the greatest and most strategic relationships he had on earth were his business partners. For the first time when he entered reality, he now discovered there were other relationships that were superior to his business partners. If he returned to earth, the only people he wants to meet are prophets. Those who can tell him reality from Zion. You know, there are many billionaires today who have business partners in Microsoft. They have business partners in Nexon Mobile. They have business partners on different platforms that generates money. So when you talk to them about God, they look at you as though you are crazy. They don't know that from Zion, they are tied to his rich fool. If that man came back to earth, his first friends will be those who can talk to him about God. That's why I said, my brothers are living like me. All their friends are wealthy men in the natural, but they have no wealth in Zion. He said, please send Moses and the prophet. He said, no. Send somebody from here rather. He said, no. He said, there are Moses and the prophets. There are people who can see through the vistas to tell you reality from Zion. So if you can't discern them in your lifetime, it means your sojourn on the earth is foolishness. And so tonight, what we have come to do is to study God. At least the measure of the syllabus that is made available. We can't exhaust it, but we will try to say a few things. Because if you truly understand what life is, your greatest preoccupation on earth will be the study of God. The pursuit of the knowledge of God. The pursuit. Day and night. 70% of your lifetime on earth should be spent seeking God. Because how much of him you know is what validates your existence. And you may think it's foolishness until you return to Zion. You will now discover how men are ranked. You will now discover that life and the ranking system of reality is not according to your name. It's not according to where you came from. And it's not according to how much you have in your account. It's according to how much of God you have in your spirit.